I'm Jagadeesh. I'm a malware researcher at Sophos. I mostly work on mobile malware. I've been following this lending apps or loan apps since late 2018, 2019, which started popping up, and there have been news all around saying there have been threats, harassment, blackmails, and deaths, especially targeting developing countries and also low-income individuals, predominantly in Asia and Africa. In this presentation, we'll look how these apps work, what kind of data they collect, what they do with the data, and how the organizations behind this work, and also their web infrastructure and those things. So before we understand the lending apps, digital lending apps, we need to understand the traditional lending. This is saying, if you, especially in developing countries, if you want to make a loan at a bank, you should show sufficient evidence that you don't need it. That means, you need to have some kind of assets or collateral, like land or gold. You need to have high credit score. And also if you're employed, you need a high income to get a loan. And the process is really lengthy. And if you're coming from a developing nation, and if you take a loan, you know how difficult it is. If you don't know somebody in the bank, it's really, really hard. So because of this, especially people who come from poor background and those who are not educated, they find it really hard to get the loans from the banks. So this is what drives them to digital lending. So there are a lot of this new digital lending apps targeting this kind of individuals. They say you don't need collateral, minimal paperwork, really fast, and it's global. People operate from overseas, and they give loans to these individuals. So if you look Asia and Africa, Asia is one of the leading growth in the fintech market. So it was already in 2019, it was already growing, the fintech apps. And after COVID happened, because of the increase of and the necessity for the contactless, I started growing even more. And in China, if you see, there was Alipay, WeChat Pay, those things are already started coming up in India, Paytm, and those kind of apps. If we look at Africa, even in Africa, there was a study by Apps Flyer and Google Africa together. There was a 25% increase in the finance app installs and 3 times increase in the interest in the finance-related searches. And there was also increase in the trends in searches for loans and grant status, payment status. All this indicated that people were, because of the pressure of COVID, cost of living, inflation, driving them to get the loans through digital lending applications. When it comes to lending, if you go to the app stores, there are different types of lending. There's vehicle loans, home loans, business loans. If you come from developing countries, you know that gold is considered really a great asset. People buy gold, even if you're really poor background, they save money and buy gold because it's a really great asset. There are loans which are based on that. I was looking for the definition for the personal loan. Google Play Store is the perfect one. Lending money from one individual, organization, or entity to another individual on a non-recurring basis, not for the purpose of financing, purchase, or fixed asset or education. It basically means, you shouldn't buy anything using that loan or for use for education purpose. It's mostly for personal use. Let's see what's the process, how this works. So these apps go into the app stores, and then you need they have some kind of verification with the code, and then they collect your identity data, some data from your phone, and then it goes to the servers, and then you get approved, and then you get the loan. It sounds like a fairly formal process like banks, but if you look into understand more, it looks a bit different. The first thing, this is what happens. You install the app, you need a working number, and then you get a verification code. You enter the verification code and you get a privacy policy where it says the different kind of data they collect. You can see the different type of data they're collecting: SMS location, application list, contact list, call logs, and it's sending somewhere like upupfhufn.com, which is it was probably hosted on Alibaba Cloud. So this is quite a lot of data for a loan app to collect. You can see another privacy policy example here. On top of that, they collect your personal information, name, date of birth, your relatives, whoever lives in your household, what kind of job you go to, and your job phone number, your colleagues, and to finally, all your contact information. If they also collect the contacts in the background, they also get your emergency contacts for like your partner, your father, mother, and those kind of things. And finally, the bank information to send the money. And also, they get some kind of government documents. If India is, they use PAN number, and Aadhaar. PAN is like a national insurance number equivalent in India, and Aadhaar is like an identity number. And in Nigeria and in African countries, they use something called bank verification number, which I believe is unique for financial purposes. The reason they give for collecting all this personal information is very standard. They say it's for checking your identity, to approve your loans, and to process your loan applications, and to evaluate your loan risk and things like that. When people see this, they don't understand the risk they're taking by installing this app and then approving these permissions. People think it's okay. Yeah, I mean, they're in a hurry to get money. They don't care about these things. So this is the screenshots of the data collected from the App Store pages. So when you go to the App Store page itself, you don't see this when you go to visit the page. Only if you see click on the links, what data they collect, only then you see this kind of information. And this is the permission prompts you see when you run the app. So let's take a quick look on how these apps work. Yep. So this is the permission application. And this is you enter the number, you get an OTP. And this is the initial screenshot where it takes you to the app. And this about page is basic information, like they have downloads and other things. This is when they start prompting for different permissions. And so here you can see the information collected. If you look on the top, every time more you enter the information, your loan amount keeps on increasing, which is a lie. So, and they want your precise location as well. And keep watching the loan terms and the interest rates as well, which is pretty less than what's actually given out to the users. And you can see the loan term here is only loan tenure, which is only 7 days, as opposed to months they advertise. Also look at the commission and the other things. So this was the Blink loan app, which was really lots of complaints in India in the courts, and a lot of people have been harassed by this. And if you look now, so he gets 3,500, the commission is 1,400, and the amount received is 2,100. Even before the lent money, so they're taking out 1,400 as a commission, and they have to return this within 7 days. So this is another app called Credit for Sure. So I tried to giving approximate location, but later it kept on asking for the precise location. I think most of the users don't scroll through this data. So if you read the fine prints, they collect vast amounts of data. This is some of the example of the permissions they collect. So there was this one app which was also trying to get an update. Luckily, it was removed from the Play Store. So going back to the presentation. So now we know how it works and what kind of data they advertise to collect. And if you look inside the app code itself, you'll be able to see the more detailed level of data they get from the app. So you can see these are the class names. You can see they collect app info data, battery status, event data, network, SIM card data, SMS storage data, which for a loan app, it shouldn't be collecting all this kind of data. If you look individually, all these classes, if you can see the battery there, battery status data, they're collecting battery health, battery PCD, and battery temperature. On screen brightness and location, they're getting your longitude, latitude, your address details, city and province. With the media, they're getting your downloaded files, contact groups, internal, external data. And you can see the app info data. You can see they're collecting your first install time, update time, version information. Which is just really not needed by a loan app. This is where they're collecting information about if you have your phone rooted, what kind of keyboard you have, whether you have a ringer on silent or is it, and whether you have a VPN proxy, or whether you're using a mock location. It's to target researchers or onto people who use emulators and those kind of things. So this is the photo information, SMS info, and you can see in the hardware data, which is like tons of information, your CPU, your baseband bootloader, your screen densities, your radio version. I think they're mining every possible data they could. And your calendar information as well, so they pretty much know what you're doing, when you're doing, the whole information. So this is a screenshot from one of the iOS apps as well. We saw there were more these kind of apps in Play Store compared to App Store, just because in the developing countries the market share of Android is more compared to iOS, but there are a lot of iOS apps as well which were collecting this kind of data, and they have been reported and removed from Apple Store. So there were some apps initially which were very straightforward to see the data, and as AV vendors started detecting, they started encoding the information to make it too difficult to look at it, and also to prevent detections. There are different kind of encoding ranging from simple string substitution to XOR or other encoding techniques. So you can see simpler encoding, and then they're accessing the SMS data. And also later they started using packers, especially the ones which are widely used in Asia. This application called FlashLend was using the one called Chihu, which is very popular in it's a well-known company. It's a well-known packer which is widely used by most legitimate apps as well. And if you see the unpacked code, you can see they're extracting the SMS list service. Other than Chihu, we've been also spotted ones with which package name Proxy application. There's also one called Pandora. The best tool to unpack all this is Frida. They got lots of scripts, and most of these apps should be able to be unpacked using that scripts. So when you look at the network communications, you can see the data they've been exfiltrating. Here you can see the contact information from one of the devices which we are testing, their names and contact ID and how many times they've been contacted, whether it's been starred, and those kind of data is the code we saw earlier. You can see those information being extracted here. On the right, you can see the app list being sent to their servers. So in this case, the apps are File Manager, TikTok, and Photos. This is one of the iOS apps as well. So you can see in this case, they've encoded the names. So they're using the different kind of codes for these names here. They were collecting IPs and Wi-Fi and the iPhone operating system on their versions and those kind of details. And this is a screenshot where they are collecting the personal details. You enter like your Gmail, your address, and your name and PIN code. Other than the lending apps which give you money and then they threaten you or harass you, there are also apps which advertise to be like a loan apps, but actually they're only there for making money through ad revenues and for data collection. People go through all the process, they enter their information, but in the end they won't get any money. They collect their data or just display ads or redirect them to other applications to make money through pay per install. This was called Urgent Loan Calculator, which we reported to Google Play Store, which is just taken down now. So you can see some of the reviews, people saying it's a horrible app, never use. And this one more user saying, this was in May 2023, this is a scam, don't download these apps. And you can see here it's saying, got your data and then applied for a loan, is still pending this morning. This asking them to cancel here. And also the way they convince the user to get loan is using the brand names. Here you can see the Vanguard, very well-known investment firm. They're using their names. And also if you look at their email and on the support emails, you can see this is two different things. And it's definitely not Vanguard. And Bajaj, which is very widely known brand in India. So this was called NASA loan. It's not a NASA subsidiary. It's just they're just using their names. So you can see in this. I want to highlight the fees and tenure. They say they give you like 91 to 1,095 days, and you can see the processing fees is 0 to 1.5%, and interest rate is 12 to 0.5 to 28%. But in reality, what happens is when you apply for the loan, you can see here, in this case, some of these apps, when initially came out, they were charging more than 100%. And so he's giving out 1,000 rupees in this case, and he wants the due amount on the same day. You can see it's like 75% more, or nearly 70%. And you can see the bounce charges 500 processing fee, and advertised to be 3 to 4 months, but the actual agents who handle this, they start calling you after 5 or 6 days. So this is some of the reviews there. It said they pay 1,200 when you borrow 2,000, then start asking you in 7 days. And then how do you use this app for emergency? And you got only less. So you can see as we saw in the earlier video, it's only 7 days term. If you can see, everything else is blocked out. So when you apply, even though the display like is for 60 days or 90 days, so what you actually get is only 7 days to repay these loans. So let's quickly look at the web infrastructure, what the websites look like. So they have websites where they let some users download the apps through this, or sometimes they just have it as a cover to build the brand. This is from one of the Indonesian page, and they have this is app called Easy Wallet, targeting India. And this is from Nigeria, and they have the screenshot showing how it works. They show it's a 3 simple steps, but it's actually more than that. So as you saw, you need to enter quite a lot of the information there. And this is an iOS app download page. It had a direct link to the Apple App Store. It's called Rupee Smart. I think it was in May or June time, so we reported it was taken down. And if you take one of these websites and you use a URL tools like URL Scan.io or Showdown, you can find lots of similar websites. So you can see we put one of those, and we can see a couple of Ghana loan apps. They all had similar template using brand names. Your Meta and Robinhood app, and yeah, they just change the brand and reuse the templates. When you look at the locations where they send the data, so most of them were hosted either in Alibaba Cloud or Amazon, and there were quite a lot. Even if you want to go through taking them down, it's difficult to take these down. So you'd be wondering, so these all look very unprofessional, a lot of red flags. Why do people even go through and get these loans? Especially in developing countries, you don't have the safety net, and they don't have a good health infrastructure, and education systems. People are in many emergency situations. If somebody falls ill, they have to go to the loan companies to get money, because if you are in a lower income, you'll not have money to treat them in hospital. So, and especially during COVID, because in Western countries, the government paid like a funds, but in many developing countries, when the small businesses and the daily wages people had lockdowns, they didn't have any income. So it was really hard to live their life, and then they had to depend on these loans to lead their normal life. And also harassment is more difficult for the female borrowers if you have very sensitive data, because people take pictures, videos, and if this data goes to the loan collectors, so they use this data to harass them really bad. So we got some real screenshot from internet from US. Here you can see one of the guys. He was late, and they took his head and put on a nude man, and they're selling, this guy is selling drugs, and then kill this guy. And you can see on the female user, they took one of her sensitive pictures, and then they say, give them money, otherwise we'll send your nudes to everybody on the contact list. So you can see one of the screenshot taken from the law complaints in the court. I've taken 5,000 loan, so 2,950 dispersed on 18th May, and they want it back in 6 days. And if he doesn't do it, they will blackmailing to send nude pictures. So this is some of the screenshots where they're saying fraud. Be aware of this case which was sent out. And this is on my right. On your left is from the Nigeria. They're sending out like a obituary, like death notes, which has been sent out. These are the people have posted these on social media, saying their stories. Other than harassment and blackmailing, there have been a lot of deaths as well. There's no actual count. I'm guessing hundreds, maybe even up to thousands. So you can see here, these are some screenshots where people sharing their stories. This guy was late in paying money, and then so he's begging them to not do anything, and then he's telling, sir, I will die, and then they use lots of harassments and shame them in front of their relatives and friends. The main reason people are driven to suicide is because they're worried, because there could be their relatives or friends who are not aware of their financial situation. When this data goes to them, their life is really shattered, and then that's why they take the really extreme step of suicides. So there was one case where, maybe several cases. One case I read, there was this lady, his mother was ill. She took a loan from one of these apps, like few hundreds, and then she couldn't pay. After 1 week, she got calls from these guys, and then they said, you take one more loan, maybe they get money for referring. And she got one more loan to repay this loan, And then after 1 more week, she couldn't repay that loan. She took one more. She kept on taking like this up to 40 or 50. Few hundred turned into hundreds of thousands. And there was no way she could repay this. And the threatening calls coming from everywhere. So that's when this lady killed herself. So let's look at the distribution, how these guys reach this. So after they publish in the App Store, they create the web page reviews, and also they create YouTube videos appreciating themselves, and they have in the comments Telegram groups. When the people look, they go to these Telegram groups, and then they become members there. Now, when people go to these Telegram groups, they have their own, these guys who lend the money, money and have these apps, they have their own group. Even if the app gets taken down in the Play Store, they can distribute it themselves. There were several instances where we saw the app was taken from the app stores, but they started. 2 minutes. There are also Facebook groups as well where they distribute. And SMSs, you can see SMS advertisements as well. And they use the contacts which they collect earlier to send out the download addresses as well. So there's also, this is from Thailand, where they're using Facebook videos to promote. And also on social media, like Twitter, this advertise. If you come to policy circumvention, like I mentioned earlier, what you see in the Play Store page is not enforceable. So it says 91 days, but actually it's a lot more than this. And also we saw later India, Philippines, and other countries bought restrictions them to use the banking certificates and restriction permissions, but later they couldn't do it because they were using the fake information. So the reason I call it data espionage is because initially when these apps came, there was no restrictions at all. All this sensitive data was handed over to anybody who could publish these apps on the app stores. And especially in India, these apps are considered hostile because of the India-China relations. They had a war and border disputes as well. So the way it started was in China in 2016. There was a loan for nudes. The female users were taken. They were sending the nude screenshots as a collateral, and if they didn't return, they were threatened to send out. So the way the guys behind this work is, they go on a business visa loan, take business visa, go to the countries. They employ local unemployed people. They create these companies where they can lend, and they hire people to doctor images. And then they create a lot of shell companies in their names. And more of the communication is through GB WhatsApp, which is a modification of WhatsApp. You can conceal the communication, and you can also talk to the legitimate WhatsApp users as well. There was one NBFC company, which is like a local company there, which was defunct, but later they paid money as a bribe, and this company was handing out millions. So that's how they abuse the local system. Okay. So finally, thank you to all the researchers and I think other vendors who have worked on this, like Lookout, K7, and Zimperium. And thank you very much.
Let's give a hand to Janish.